Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube segment, I'm going to be giving you my predictions for the 2013 NBA playoffs, first round, Western Conference. First series I want to get to is the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Houston Rockets. In that series, yes, I'm going with a consensus. You can see this on virtually any prediction page and sports website. Is that people pretty much going with Oklahoma City Thunder. I feel that this one should be a fairly easy pick. We know anything could happen in these NBA playoffs, but what's theoretically possible and what will actually happen are obviously two different things. I'm going to take OKC in 5 over Houston. Oklahoma City Thunder, I believe, will not come asunder in this series. We can look at the Thunder. They averaged 121 points versus the Rockets in 3 games this season. The Rockets did take one of those games, but it was they just got them one time, and Oklahoma City pretty much annihilated Houston in the other 2 games. They won by a combined 52 points, or average of 26 points for each contest. During the season, they had better field goal percentage, free throw percentage, and 3-point field goal percentage. I think Houston may have averaged some more assists than Oklahoma City did, but for Oklahoma City, do they really need as many more assists as opposed to the Rockets when you have a surefire shooter such as Kevin Durant on your team? I really think that's pretty much a moot point as far as Houston having some more assists as opposed to Oklahoma City. So I will be taking OKC in 5. In the next game, I got San Antonio Spurs over the LA Lakers by 6. Yes, I realize that the Lakers have been on their own little rampage of late. They went like 28-12 in the final 40 games. They have looked impressive, one of the better teams in the second half of the NBA regular season. San Antonio has slumped in their final games. I think they're somewhere around 4-7 in their final 11. But could this be precisely where San Antonio Spurs coach Greg Popovich really wants the team? Perhaps they seem somewhat debilitated. Ginobili hadn't been much of a factor, I don't believe, in the last game or so that the Spurs had played. They lost that game to the Lakers, in which has helped, I think, bolster LA's confidence a little bit. Tim Duncan, obviously, he might still be a very good player, but he's probably, skills have probably deteriorated a little bit. Tony Parker, assuming he plays, will he be 100% in this series? But back to what I was saying before, Greg Popovich and the Spurs might be precisely where they want to be when people are counting them out and discounting them as a team. They have the uncanny ability to improvise in these situations and really show up and play well in crunch time. And I think this series is no exception to that rule. I think we will see the Spurs gather themselves just enough to prevail over the LA Lakers. Lakers will make it a tough series. It may even go 7 games, but I'm going to go with the Spurs in 6 over the LA Lakers. In the next series, we have the Denver Nuggets and the Golden State Warriors. Denver, I believe, number 3, Golden State 6 seeded team. This will be a series where we will see, more likely than not, some volatile, explosive offense on both sides. Denver, I believe, has averaged around 105, 106 points per game, and Golden State has averaged over 100 points per game as well. In the season series, in the 4 games they played, I believe, there was only one game. It was really only one team had less than 100 points in any of those contests. So really, in 4 games you had 8 scores combined, and 8-point totals, I should say, for each team. And in 7 of the 8, 100 points or more were scored, or I believe 102 or more were scored, actually. So expect this to be a high-scoring series. Golden State is good enough maybe to get 2 possibly on their home court, I believe, in this series. Denver is basically a collection of somewhat, kind of obscure players in people's minds because they're no-name people, but as collective bunch, they do play nearly as well as any team in the NBA on a given night. They have the potential. If they're playing their A+ game and you take an elite team coming in playing a B-, B+ game, they're more likely or not to prevail over them. Denver is very deadly, and they have the potential to go deep in this playoffs. But I'm going to take Denver in this first series in 6 over the Golden State Warriors. Last but not least, got the LA Clippers and the Memphis Grizzlies. This should be a battle for the ages. I see something, replicating what we saw last year. We saw them go the distance in 7 games. Clippers and Grizzlies, that series could have gone either way. I thought Memphis had the potential to beat them last year, but didn't get the job done. This season, the Clippers do have the home field advantage. They have 2, pretty much stars on their team with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin. I do see, Clippers with the home court. I believe that is going to be advantageous to them in this series. I think that is the difference in this particular series. I think if the Grizzlies had home court, we'd be seeing a reversal of fortune and maybe Memphis in 7 games. But I like the Clippers in 7. Look for a very highly contested series. This is a very evenly matched series between very balanced backcourts and front courts on both ends, where they're evenly matched, and basically every facet and aspect of this, these teams are, they mirror each other, I believe. And I think it's going to come down to, looking at a Game 7 and having a raucous crowd in LA. I think that could be the difference maker in the series. I look for the Grizzlies to give them all they can handle. They did dominate them in the regular season, defeating LA Clippers 3 out of 4 contests until Clippers got that final meeting between the 2 teams. Let's go with the LA Clippers in this one. I wouldn't be completely flabbergasted or shocked if Memphis did win the series, but I'm got a hunch about the Clippers in this one. Well, people, that will conclude this YouTube segment for my NBA predictions for 2013 for the first round in the Western Conference. And when the first round series is completed, I will be giving you my picks for the second round of the Western and Eastern Conference series. Until next time, people, stay well.